You guys knew there was a time where you didn't have ATMs. That I know freaks you guys out, right? You were never alive without ATMs. You know how you get money from the bank?
Matt's too lazy for even ATMs, so that's terrifying.
That's right.
Wait, like physical money?
Physical. You would actually have a printed bank book that would give you your balance, and you would have to go to the bank to get cash.
Not good.
And they were open the exact same hours they're open now.
Never.
Like you contemplate, right? Come to contemplate this. Now they didn't have like little tiny, but they didn't have that many branches anyway. Maybe they've cut down on branches. I don't know. All right. The reason why I preface it with this is that 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, there was a guy named Newt Gingrich who somehow became the Speaker of the House, became the leader of the Republican Party. And a pudgy little man, sort of like a not very bright man's idea of what a bright man is. And so a bit of a scam artist. And he led the charge to the impeachment of Bill Clinton. And then it comes out, because what will we tell the children? Was the refrain we always heard. But what will we tell the children about Bill Clinton having this affair in the White House with an intern? And but she wasn't an intern, I think, at the time. But that's how she got to the White House. But what will we tell the children? Disgusting stuff that children are forced to learn from the investigation that we have brought along by Ken Starr. That was about 4 different scandals that they couldn't land, so they had to find something. And the funny part about the moralizing from Newt Gingrich, the absolute outrage, at one point he said, quote, "I'm going to mention Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton every speech I ever give for the rest of my life."
That's a little bit uneasy just in and of itself.
Yeah. The funny part about that is that he was, I think, either cheating on his wife at that time, who had cancer, or had moved on to the next woman that he had married to cheat on her. I can't remember. But the point is that it's the house that he was living in was not only glass, but it was glass, it was a candy glass, like the breakaway glass they use in movies. And apparently, though, it must have been a very comfortable house, because here he is with Megyn Kelly wanting to firmly place himself in that house again. But he built it very conveniently with a sort of like a big bay window, which, of course, had no window because the whole house is glass, that allowed him to lob stones from. And here he is.
On camera, talking
Megyn,
about grabbing women.
Look, I just heard you go through this with Governor Pence. I get it. I know where you're coming from. But let me point out something to you.
Sure.
The 3 major networks spent 23 minutes attacking Donald Trump that night and 57 seconds on Hillary Clinton's secret speeches. You don't think this is a scale of bias worthy of Pravda and Izvestia? I mean, you want to know why Donald Trump's had a rough time?
If Trump is a sexual predator, that is...
He's not a sexual predator.
Okay,
you
that's
can't
your
say
opinion.
that.
I'm not taking a position
defend
on
that
it.
statement.
I am not taking a position on it.
I'm sick and tired of people like you using language that's inflammatory that's not true.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
Donald
you have
Trump
no
was not
idea
this...
whether it's true or not. What we know is that
neither,
there are at
neither
least...
do you.
That's right.
Pause
I'm
it for
not
1
taking a
second.
position on...
Let's pause it just for 1 second here. I don't want to distract people, but if you look at Newt Gingrich just under his chin as he's speaking, it really becomes an entirely different piece.
Don't highlight that.
I don't
That's
know.
very
it's just
cruel
like
to the viewing public.
I know. It's just I'm fascinated for that. I don't know if it's because of the angle I'm looking at the TV, but go ahead.
On it,
Well,
unlike
yes, you are. When you use the words, you took a position.
So what
and I think
I said
it's very
is
unfair of you to do that, Megyn.
incorrect.
I think that is exactly the bias people are upset by.
I think that your defensiveness on this may speak volumes, sir.
No,
what I
let
said
me just
is
suggest
if...
to you-
No. Let me make my point, and then I'll give you the floor. What
right.
I said is if Trump is a sexual predator, then it's a big story. And what we saw on that tape was Trump himself saying that he likes to grab women by the genitals and kiss them against their will. That's what we saw. Then we saw 10 women come forward after he denied actually doing it at a debate to say that was untrue. He did it to me. He did it to me. We saw reporters. We saw people who had worked with him, people from Apprentice, and so on and so forth. He denies it all, which is his right. We don't know what the truth is. My point to you is, as a media story, we don't get to say the 10 women are lying. We have to cover that story, sir.
Oh, sure. Okay, so it's worth 23 minutes of the three networks to cover that story, and Hillary Clinton, in a secret speech in Brazil to a bank that pays her $225,000, saying her dream is an open border where 600 million people could come to America. That's not worth covering.
That is worth
when you
covering.
want to go back through the
did.
tapes of your show recently, you are fascinated with sex and you don't care about public policy.
Me?
Now, that's
Really?
what I get out of watching you tonight.
You know what, Mr. Speaker? I'm not fascinated by sex, but I am fascinated by the protection of women and understanding what we're getting in the Oval Office. And I think the American voters would like to know.
And therefore, we're going to send Bill Clinton back to the East Wing because, after all, you are worried about sexual predators.
Yeah, listen, it's not about me. It's about the women and men of America. And the poll numbers show us that the women of America in particular are very concerned about these allegations and in large part believe that they are a real issue. And
do you want to comment?
Do you want to comment
on whether the Clinton? Do you want to comment on whether the Clinton ticket has a relationship to a sexual predator?
We on the Kelly File have covered that story as well, sir. I will tell you
I
the
just want to hear you use the words. I want to hear you use the words. Bill Clinton, sexual predator. I dare you. Say Bill Clinton, sexual predator.
Mr. Speaker, we've
disbarred
covered.
by the Arkansas
me,
bar. Disbarred by the Arkansas bar. $850,000 penalty.
Excuse me, sir. We on the Kelly File have covered the Clinton matter as well. We've hosted Kathleen Willey. We've covered the examples of him being accused as well, but he's not on the ticket. And the polls also show that the American public is less interested in the deeds of Hillary Clinton's husband than they are in the deeds of the man who asks us to make him president, Donald Trump. We're going to have to leave it at that, and you can take your anger issues and spend some time working on them, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for being here.
You too. And you too. You too.
So meek at the end.
So we're taking.
Yeah. Say the words. Say the words. It will put the lotion in the basket.
And you too.
All right. So I think clearly former Fox contributor Newt Gingrich, I believe, has already signed his Trump TV contributor. I mean, here's the, this is the great sorting out, right? I mean, we're seeing this in real time. It's fascinating. This is like, maybe we should get old Matt on the phone just to give us a breakdown on how this would play out in wrestling terms, because that's exactly what we're seeing here. It is absolutely fascinating to watch this from a media story. And also that old, decrepit man claiming that she's fascinated by sex. Here's a guy whose entire political career rose and fell on his attempt to create an obsession about Bill Clinton's relationship, cheating on her wife. Cheating on his wife.
Oh, and so clearly has like an
not done.
Sort of immense personal resentment of Bill Clinton, which is very uncomfortable to watch.
Well, because he didn't have him sit in the front of the airplane. That's what the.
Well, now this is another piece of ancient history.
Did you know that?
I do know this one, but I'm sure a lot of people don't.
That was the big issue with. He was mad that President Clinton didn't have him sit in the front of. I think
and he shut down government over that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was like in the mid-'90s.
You got to show him who's boss.
They were at a state funeral or something somewhere, traveling together. And instead of saying, hey, come on up in the front and have some cookies with me, Clinton was like, stay in the back. And he was like, I'm going to shut down government.
I have a feeling that Bill Clinton didn't say anything to him.
Right. Excuse me, loser. I'm going to go harass someone on my staff, and they're actually going to like it.
I have a feeling that Bill Clinton didn't turn to his staff and say, find the most annoying person and bring him up front. We'll see how it feels. I know. subscribe.